Is the recorder on? Okay, good. I don't know who's going to listen to this. Maybe no one. Maybe someone years from now. Maybe someone who is sitting exactly where I once sat, trying to understand what went wrong and why it feels like the ground disappeared under their feet. My name is Laura Mitchell. Date of birth, April 14th, 1990. Occupation, former teacher. I'm recording this because I don't trust memory anymore. Memory changes things. It softens some parts, sharpens others, and sometimes it lies completely. I don't want this to become one of those stories people tell differently over time. I want it to stay exactly as it was. 3 years ago, my husband cheated on me. A year ago, my mother died. 6 months ago, I made a decision. This is what happened. Let's begin. I met Daniel Mitchell when I was 28 years old. It was at a book fair in Portland. Back then, I believed in books. I believed words mattered. I believed that if people just read enough, learned enough, understood enough, they would be better. Daniel was standing near a philosophy stand talking to someone. Not arguing exactly, but insisting. He had this way of speaking. His hands moved a lot, like he was pulling ideas out of the air and shaping them in front of you. He noticed I was watching him. He smiled. That was it. That was the moment everything started. We talked for hours. I don't remember how it began. I don't remember what the first sentence was. I only remember that time stopped meaning anything. The coffee in my hand went cold. The noise of the crowd faded. People left. Lights dimmed. But we were still there. When we finally stepped outside, it was raining. Portland rain. Soft, quiet, almost polite. Daniel opened his umbrella and held it toward me. I said no. He pulled it back. We both stood there getting soaked. And we laughed. That laugh stayed with me for a long time. We started seeing each other after that, slowly at first, then all at once. He was easy to be with. That's the simplest way to explain it. There was no effort, no guessing, no tension. Conversations flowed. Silence felt comfortable. He paid attention. That's what made him different. He remembered things. Not big things, small ones. The kind people usually forget. The way I liked my coffee. The books I mentioned once and never brought up again. My mother's name. My mother, Ruth Calloway, lived in Spokane. She had this quiet way about her. She didn't talk much, but when she did, people listened. She had a way of looking at someone, just looking and understanding them. The first time she met Daniel, she watched him for a long time. Not obviously, just small glances. Later that night, she said to me, "Laura, this man will take care of you. There's loyalty in his eyes." I believed her. We got married 2 years later. Small wedding, nothing extravagant, just people who mattered. My mother was there. She cried. Daniel cried too. I remember thinking, this is it. This is what people mean when they say they've found their person. The first 2 years of our marriage were real. That matters, because later, when everything fell apart, I tried to convince myself that it had all been fake, but it wasn't. It was real, and that's what made it hurt. We had routines. We cooked together in the evenings. On weekends, we went hiking near Mount Hood. Sunday mornings were always the same. Scrambled eggs. Always scrambled eggs. It sounds like a small thing, but it wasn't. It was stability. It was rhythm. It was proof that life made sense. We made plans. 1 child, maybe 2. A small house. Something quiet. Something simple. A life. And then, something changed. Not suddenly. That's the part people misunderstand. There's no single moment where everything breaks. It happens slowly. So slowly that you don't notice it at first. You adjust. You explain it. You excuse it. Daniel started coming home late. At first, once a week. Then more often. Then almost every night. Department meeting, he said. Conference prep. It made sense. Academic life is like that. I told myself to be understanding. So I was. Then he got a new phone. Password protected. That was new. He had never used a password before. When I asked, he said students message at all hours, sometimes inappropriate. Things, it's better this way. It sounded reasonable. Most lies do. One night, I woke up around 2 in the morning. The room was dark except for a brief light of light. His phone. It buzzed once, then again. A message, maybe more. I looked at it, but I didn't pick it up. I turned away. That moment stayed with me because I knew. I didn't have proof, I didn't have evidence, but something in my body understood before my mind was willing to accept it. There's a kind of knowing that doesn't come from logic. It comes from instinct, from small inconsistencies that build up over time. After that night, I stopped sleeping properly. I would lie in bed next to him and stare at the ceiling, listen to his breathing, wonder who he was talking to when I wasn't there, wonder what version of him existed outside of what I could see. My hands started shaking in the mornings, just slightly at first, enough to notice, not enough to explain. I told myself it was stress, work, life, everything except the truth. That lasted for 3 months. Then one morning, I collapsed. I don't remember falling. I remember standing in the kitchen, holding a coffee mug, and then nothing. When I woke up, I was on the floor. The mug was shattered. Daniel was next to me, calling my name. He took me to the hospital. The doctor said stress, lack of sleep, low blood pressure, nothing serious. Daniel held my hand the whole time. He looked worried, genuinely worried. And for a moment, I doubted myself. I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe all of this was in my head. Maybe I was creating something that didn't exist. But something had already shifted inside me. That day, I made a decision. I was going to find out the truth. Not guess, not assume, know. A week later, Daniel left for a conference in Seattle. 3 days. I searched the house. Every drawer, every cabinet, every corner. I told myself I was looking for something specific, but I didn't even know what that was. Proof, maybe. Something undeniable. I found nothing. He was careful. Too careful. That's when I realized I was looking in the wrong place. I went to the university, to his office. I told his assistant I had left a book there. She let me in. There was a photograph on his desk. Daniel and a woman. They were sitting close together. He was leaning toward her, saying something. She was laughing. Daniel was laughing. It wasn't a formal picture. It wasn't posed. It was real. I took it, put it in my pocket, walked out. I didn't confront him that day. I didn't call him. I didn't do anything. I just walked. For a long time. Because at that point, I didn't need confirmation anymore. I already had it. Her name was Ashley. I found that out later. PhD student, 26 years old, 8 years younger than me. I looked at her pictures, social media, normal life, friends, smiling. Nothing unusual. Nothing that made her stand out as someone who would destroy a marriage. And that's when I understood something important. She didn't destroy anything. He did. When Daniel came back from Seattle, I acted normal. We had dinner, we talked, we went to bed, and I said nothing, because I wasn't ready yet. Silence at that point wasn't weakness, it was preparation. For the next month, I collected everything. Call records, patterns, times, durations. Then I went further. I tracked him. I needed certainty. Not belief, not suspicion. Certainty. And when I finally had it, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel sadness. I felt something much colder, something quiet, something that didn't react. It just decided. And that decision would change everything.
Is the recorder on? Okay, I'm continuing. I stopped the recording because I realized something while listening back to it. Up until that point, I was still telling this story like someone who was hurt, not like someone who already knew what they were going to do. There's a difference, and it matters. When you first realize something is wrong, you react, you feel, you question. But there comes a point where the questions stop and something else begins: planning. For a month, I collected everything, not obsessively, not frantically, carefully, quietly, like someone doing something they already accepted. Phone records were easy. Daniel never thought I would check them. Why would I? We trusted each other. Or at least he assumed I still trusted him. Same number, over and over again. Long calls, late at night, early in the morning. Patterns. Human behavior always leaves patterns. The GPS tracker was harder, not technically, emotionally, because putting that device in his car meant something very specific. It meant I was no longer asking if he was cheating, I was proving it. The first time I checked the location, I stared at the screen for a long time. There was an address. I didn't recognize it, but I didn't need to, because he stayed there for hours. The second time, same place. The third time, same place. After that, I stopped being surprised. Certainty is a strange thing. People think it brings relief. It doesn't. It removes doubt, but replaces it with something heavier: finality. I didn't confront him immediately. That's another thing people don't understand. Confrontation feels like action, but it's not. Not always. Sometimes it's just release. And I wasn't ready to release anything yet. I wanted to understand the full shape of what I was dealing with, not just the act, the depth. So I waited, and I watched. On a Tuesday evening, Daniel said he would be late. Department meeting. I nodded, said nothing. I checked the tracker. Same address. That night, I did something different. I didn't just watch from a distance. I went there. I took a ride. Didn't think too much about it. If I had, I might not have gone. The building was ordinary. 3 floors, nothing special. Lights in a few windows. Silence everywhere else. I stood across the street. Then I sat down on a bench, and I waited. Time moved slowly, not in minutes, in thoughts. I thought about everything. The first day we met, the wedding, my mother's voice. There's loyalty in his eyes. I kept repeating that sentence in my head, over and over. Like if I said it enough times, it might become true again. It didn't. At some point, I realized something else. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was empty. That's the part no one talks about. Before anger comes, there's emptiness, a kind of emotional silence, like your system shuts down before it decides what to do next. At 11:30, the door opened. Daniel walked out. He looked around, left, right, casual, careful, but not careful enough. He didn't see me. That detail matters, because I saw him, clearly, fully, without illusion. He got into his car, drove away, and just like that, everything became simple. Not easier, simple. I went home. He was already there. Meeting ran long, he said. I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't see my husband. I saw a stranger. That night, I didn't sleep, not because I was thinking, but because I wasn't. There was nothing left to figure out. The next few days, I organized everything. Printed records, call logs, dates, times, locations. I put them all in a folder. Clean, ordered, undeniable. I didn't rush. I didn't hesitate. On Sunday morning, everything was ready. Sunday mornings were always the same: scrambled eggs, routine, normal. That morning was no different, at least on the surface. Daniel was in the kitchen, cooking, like always. I sat at the table, the folder in front of me. I didn't open it. I just waited. He brought the plates, sat down, started talking about something. I don't remember what. It didn't matter. I slid the folder across the table, toward him. He looked at it, then at me. "What's this?" he said. "Open it," I said. He did, page by page, slowly. I watched his face change, not dramatically, not like in movies, subtly, controlled, but visible. When he reached the last page, he stopped, closed the folder. Silence. "Laura," he said. "Don't," I said. He stopped. Silence again. "What do you want?" I asked. He hesitated. "Another chance," he said. "Counseling. I'll end it, I swear. We can fix this." Fix. That word felt wrong, like trying to repair something that had already turned to dust. I stood up. "I'm calling my attorney." I said, "Please move out this week." He didn't argue, not then. The argument came later. The divorce process took 8 months, 8 long months. At first, he tried to be reasonable. Clean separation, no conflict. Then lawyers got involved. Everything changed. The house, the money, the accounts. Suddenly, it wasn't about us anymore. It was about winning. And I learned something during that time. People don't just betray you emotionally. They will try to take everything else, too. I fought back, not emotionally, strategically, and I won, most of it. But winning felt empty, because I didn't win anything that mattered. I got a house full of memories I couldn't live in, rooms that felt like echoes. So I sold it. I moved into a small apartment, 2 rooms, quiet, too quiet. That's when the silence came back, real silence. No footsteps, no voice, no shared space, just me. I took time off work. I couldn't focus, couldn't function. And then something else happened, something I didn't expect. I started thinking about my mother more, constantly. And not just thinking, reaching. I would pick up my phone to call her, and then remember. Every time it felt like losing her again. That kind of pain doesn't stay sharp. It becomes dull, heavy, constant. 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized, I asked myself a question. Is this it? Is this how it ends? He moves on, I stay here, alone, broken, trying to rebuild something that no longer exists. At that point, I thought the story was over. I was wrong. Because 6 months ago, I learned something. Daniel and Ashley were engaged, and that changed everything.
Is the recorder on? Okay. This is the last part. When I heard they were engaged, I didn't react immediately. That's important, because people think revenge starts with anger. It doesn't. It starts with a question. Why? Why does he get to move on? Why does he get a new life while I'm still standing in the ruins of the old one? That question stayed with me for days. Not loud, not dramatic, quiet, persistent. I went through my routine, woke up, made coffee, sat in silence. Everything looked normal, but something had shifted again. Not pain this time, not grief, balance. Or rather, the lack of it. Because what happened didn't feel balanced. He betrayed me. We divorced. He moved on. That was it. No consequence. No weight. No cost. And I couldn't accept that. Not emotionally. Logically. So one night, I sat down and I made a decision. Not emotional, not impulsive, clear, cold, final. I was going to hold him accountable. Not with violence. That would be too simple, too fast. I wanted something else. I wanted consequence. Real consequence. Daniel's life wasn't built on me. It was built on his career, his reputation, his position. And I knew that. I also knew something else. Ashley was his student. That alone was enough. In his world, that mattered more than anything. But I didn't act immediately. I thought about it carefully. Because once you take a step like that, you don't go back. I gathered everything again, this time, not for myself, for someone else. And then, I did something unexpected. I wrote to Ashley. Not to accuse, not to attack, to inform. I told her everything. Dates, facts, truth. No emotion, no insults, just this. You deserve to know the full story. I didn't know what she would do. I didn't care. 10 days later, the engagement ended. Daniel called me. First time since the divorce. "What did you do?" he said. His voice was shaking. "You destroyed everything." I listened. Then I said one word. "Yes." And I hung up. That could have been enough. For most people, it would be. But I wasn't done. Because this wasn't just about a relationship, it was about accountability. I filed a complaint. Formal. Documented. University Ethics Committee. Everything was there. The relationship, the timeline, the position of power. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't lie. I didn't need to. Truth was enough. The process took months. During that time, he tried everything. Calls, messages, threats, defamation, legal action, consequences. The word consequences sounded different when he said it. I didn't respond. Because for the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was waiting. 3 months later, the decision came. Violation confirmed. He lost his standing, his position weakened, his future uncertain. And just like that, it was done. Everything I had planned, completed. So what did I feel? That's the part people always ask. Satisfaction? Relief? Victory? No, none of those. I felt empty. Again. Because revenge doesn't fill anything, it just removes something. And when it's gone, you realize what's still missing. My mother was still gone, those years were still gone, and I was still alone. That doesn't change, no matter what you do. A few weeks later, I heard something else. Daniel's father died, suddenly. And for a moment, everything became complicated again. Because grief doesn't stay in one place, it spreads. I didn't go to the funeral, but I sent flowers. I don't know why. Maybe because I remembered my mother. Maybe because grief is the only thing that feels the same for everyone. He sent a message. "Thank you." That was all. I replied, "I'm sorry for your loss." And that was the last time we spoke. Since then, life has been quiet. I went back to work. New school, new faces. I function. Not perfectly, but enough. I go to therapy once a week. We talk. About everything. About nothing. She asked me once, "Do you regret it?" I thought about it, and I said, "No." Because regret would mean I was wrong, and I don't think I was. But that doesn't mean I'm at peace either. That's the truth no one tells you. You can be right and still not feel better. I went to my mother's house recently, packed her things. I found her rosary. Old. Worn. I hold it sometimes, not because I'm religious,
because it reminds me that something in my life was once simple, certain, safe. Why this recording? Because maybe someone will hear it, someone who is standing at the same point I once stood, confused, hurt, lost, and maybe this will help them understand something. Your pain is real. Your anger is real. And yes, you have the right to seek accountability. But understand this. Even if you get it, even if everything goes exactly the way you planned, it doesn't fix everything. Some things just stay broken. And you learn to live with that. That's where I am now. Standing. Not whole, but not destroyed either. Just standing. And for now, that's enough. Laura Mitchell, Portland, Oregon, April 24th, 2026.